Hey everybody, in this series I want to talk about the 22 rules of storytelling from Pixar and how you can apply them to your songwriting. I think one of the most powerful things you can do as just an individual, as a human in the universe, is take ideas from other disciplines and other areas of your life and see how they apply to your art and vice versa. So the first one I want to talk about is number 5, simplify, focus, combine characters, hop over detours. You'll feel like you're losing valuable stuff, but it sets you free. So one place that I applied this particular rule was on the album Not So Alamo, with a few of the songs that I wrote for that one. It was written during National Solo Album Month, where the idea is to write a whole album in a month, and it kind of teaches you like, oh, well, I gotta just keep moving, get the ideas out, figure out which ideas I really like, or maybe you have to use every idea that you have. It teaches you not to be precious about the things you create, and I feel like when you're first starting out, or if you're a perfectionist, you're often very particular and very precious about all your ideas and feeling like maybe every idea that you do is this grand, great idea. But the truth of the matter is, at least for me, I think 1 out of every 4 songs I write turns into something good or something that I keep. Right now it's been like 1 out of every 15. But somewhere in those ideas, sometimes those other 3 that don't turn into something, there's a germ of, or a gem of something really cool in there. In particular, on Not So Alamo, actually there's tapes available if you still want one, becoolcowboy.bandcamp.com. But for Afraid of the Moon, it was a song that happened really quickly, but it was always a little bit short. And during that month of songwriting, I had this other song. It was this 4-part acoustic kind of jam. I was kind of influenced by like the Faces or something. And in that song, there was that really cool bridge part or chorus, I think I was using it as. But the rest of the song I didn't feel like was that tight or solid. So what I wound up doing though is I felt like Afraid of the Moon needed to be a little bit longer. So what I did was just take that part from that other idea that wasn't a fully fleshed or something I felt that was really that good, and I just tacked it onto the end of Afraid of the Moon. And a lot of people have said Afraid of the Moon is probably their favorite song on the album, which is really cool. But it's a perfect example of combining these ideas into one idea rather than having a half-done good song and another song that maybe not be as good. Maybe by combining those 2 ideas, they become more than the sum of the parts. So a classic example of this is Happiness is a Warm Gun by the Beatles. It's kind of a 3-act song where it sounds like, I think the story is John Lennon had 3 different ideas, and rather than put them into each 3 different songs, they just put them all together into one song, and that's an amazing classic song. And it's so cool how it just shifts from part to part. And Doug Marsh from Built to Spill does similar, or had a similar process, especially during the recording of Perfect From Now On. I remember reading an interview where he was talking about stacking different parts over the course of writing material and then kind of putting them together in interesting ways. And I think you can really hear that on that album in particular, because there's a lot of long, winding songs that kind of have these left turns and just open up into these really different parts. And I think there's something to be said about combining characters, like Pixar sang, and combining the ideas. Another song I did this in was Rays of Sunlight, same kind of idea. If you ever listen to that song, there's like an intro on it, and also the outro. Both were different parts from different songs that just didn't feel like they worked as like a full song. But after going back through and being like, oh, well, that's actually kind of cool if it just happens once, and if it's just like an intro. It's a really cool technique, and I think one that can open up some different ideas about what you're doing, and you maybe taking 2 subpar ideas will turn into one great idea. So it does feel like you're losing something when you do that, but at the same time, I think what you gain from it is worth whatever you think or feel like you're losing. I think this also comes up in movies and TV shows sometimes, just as one last footnote on this, where it feels like there's characters that could have been one character. Like, rather than have one 3-dimensional character in a show or a movie, the writer opts to have like 2 2-dimensional characters that could kind of have been the same person. If you want some further reading for this series, check out Ed Catmull's book on Pixar, and also the Steve Jobs biography that came out. It must have been almost like 10 years ago now. This is a really powerful technique, and I think once you can get over the idea of not everything you make is going to be amazing, but then also be able to take parts from the things that you do generate and put them together in new and interesting ways. It's like I said, I think the sum of the parts is greater than the whole. Is that the saying?